My Project for Diakonia, Christian Doctrine, or a reflection on what I'm carrying away from the intensive but brief 5-week course. Over the years, from Sunday school to confirmation to Bible studies, in sermons and lessons, in the spoken and sung liturgy, and just daily life, there's been numerous bits and pieces and woven stories from the Bible and Luther's Reformation. And while I'm not fond of politics, I've lived through a couple of church splits. My husband Steve handled the politics and people way better than I, and went to synod meetings and read position papers. Together, we discussed much of what went on. But overall, while the bits and pieces were lovely to listen to, and I could focus in on, relate to, and utilize the individual parts, sometimes that particular part would start to blur out, and then a new story would come in, and while wonderful in its own right, really didn't connect with the other one that I had focused in on so closely. At times, the stories and liturgy and Reformation ideas seemed to contradict each other and lead me in a different way. At other times, I would hear different philosophies from different religions, and while seeing a stylistic difference, would be unsure how it related to what I believed in. I really did not have a framework to evaluate or compare within my own faith, let alone with competing religions. But overall, while the bits and pieces were lovely to listen to and were always relevant, always insightful, gave me something to carry with me in my dark times and in my times of brightness, I was never quite sure how it all fit together, especially when alternate ideas from other religions looked equally moralistic and appealing. In these very short 5-week sessions, Diakonia has given me a framework. It's certainly not a complete picture. 5 weeks for the entire Old Testament? Really? But the framework gives me a place to put all the stories and lessons I already know, a way to make sense of the whole, and a place to put stories and lessons that I will yet to learn. And I'm starting to see how it all fits. Kind of. I think. Growing. Well, sometimes I see it darkly, sometimes I see it brightly, and there's still parts I really don't understand. But it gives me a more complete strength. It's a picture that holds together, and now I can systematically compare my faith to others and find the patterns. But I've been speaking about Diakonia in general, and I've really only been to 2 sessions. And the really, really important thing that I can't quantify or explain is how the sharing of faith, stories, questions, and answers fills the room with strength. That while there are many things that I'll never understand, that others can see and others do understand and know, what I do see is really very, very good. For me, the Christian Doctrine session says that while the heavens are good, my job at the moment is here on earth, and that's a pretty great place too. This is Ellie, the elegant French poodle. And while some people might think that's all there is to a French poodle, that is to say, elegance, Ellie would disagree. She knows that she has a vocation, and it's not about wearing fancy collars or sitting in fancy cars. Her vocation involves tennis balls, fields, mud, and burrs. Sand is okay, as long as there's tennis balls. Snow is good, especially if there's a tennis ball around. The critical thing is the tennis ball, and it goes without saying, someone to throw it. Okay, soccer balls work too, as do volleyballs. The point is, a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do, and it isn't always what you or others expect it to be. But when you find the right vocation, even if it involves going in and hitting a little bit of mud, it's good. And the right vocation means you want to go right back in there and do it again. And probably again. And if you're really lucky, when you're least expecting it, you might find yourself up in the air with a little bit of help, hitting the heavens. Life here is really very good. And I've been talking about Ellie, but in truth, I'm a science teacher. In fact, I'm a physics teacher. And that involves students and labs and boards and computers and students. And I mentioned students and helping the students and labs and more students and a lot more students. And there's a whole bunch of other things it involves too. I do videos so that I help my own students. I do videos so I help students that I never see. I work with students in large groups. I work with students individually. I come in early, not too often. I stay late, way too often. I stay up late at night, making videos and figuring out new ways to present material and watching videos and helping students. I help them with emails. I help them through my videos. I help them individually, one-on-one. I help them with physics, and I think that gives them a strength. And I'm not always sure when I'm done if they get it or if it's been helpful to them. Every once in a while, I get an email from a student, much later, who says, "Hey, that really helped me." The best thing was a janitor I had that works at our school now. You may say a janitor, but I say a janitor. He was in one of my classes before I taught physics, when it was physical science, and it was not the strongest class in the world. And he made a comment that I didn't appreciate, and I pulled him out in the hallway and I talked to him. Well, the other day, 17 years later, he came up to me and said, I still remember when I made a comment and you pulled me out and said, I don't want to hear you talking that way about other people. And I explained to him where I'd come from and what some of those things meant back where I came from and how I didn't care if anybody else was offended or not. I was offended. He remembered that. That was a long time ago. And it made a difference. And, he's a janitor, but he's pretty happy with his life. He's got a good life. He's got a wife. He's got a family. We just never know when we're doing good. I want to give special thanks to Ellie and all of those who support her and her vocation, and to Steve, who supported me through all of my various vocations and helped me see farther and better with faith, love, and understanding. Thank you very much for your time.